Chapter 254 Invading a Territory. Shu Sanchi didn't dare to be sarcastic after looking at Wang Donga's worried expression. He hurriedly got up from the sofa and said, I'm leaving too. Don't worry, Donga, Yuan knows what he's doing. He must have had something urgent come up if he left in such a hurry. Shu Sanchi's words reminded Wang Donga. Perhaps Elder Sun has assigned him something. The group appeared before Elder Sun a few minutes later. Mission? No, I haven't assigned him with anything. Didn't you guys come back together yesterday? What's wrong? Has Hua Yuan vanished? Elder Sun was equally astonished. It was quite a big deal for Shrek Academy if a student went missing, and this was especially alarming because Hua Yuan was a member of the Sea Gods Pavilion. Hua Yuan could be said to be Shrek Academy's future cornerstone. Don't worry, I'll help you guys look. The entire academy began to move with Elder Sun's announcement, and everyone started to look for Hua Yuan. 2 hours later, inside the Sea Gods Pavilion. Nothing. We've searched everywhere. He's not in the academy. I've sent people over to Shrek City, and nobody's seen Hua Yuan recently. Elder Sun lowered his voice as he spoke. 6 of Shrek's 7 monsters were gathered at this moment. Hua Yuan had gone missing, and this was a big deal to everybody. Elder Sun's eyes descended on Wang Donga as he said, Did he say anything to you yesterday, Donga? What did he do? Wang Donga had been worried for the entire morning, and her eyes were long since red. Hua Yuan was still nowhere to be seen even though they had been searching for more than 2 hours, and she couldn't be any more worried than she already was. She was just anxious in the beginning, and then she was incensed, but all that was left in her heart right now was nervousness. She was even thinking that she wouldn't pursue anything about what had happened between him and Wang Hua yesterday if he could just return safely. What a kind-hearted girl. She tossed her head from side to side and said, He was still asleep when I escorted him back to rest. However, his vitals had returned to normal. I should have stayed by his side. This is all my fault. All my fault. Wang Donga's voice was starting to break, and she was about to cry. Elder Sun said, Don't be hasty. There's something odd about all this. We have discovered from our preliminary investigations that Hua Yuan isn't the only person that has gone missing. Someone else has disappeared. Everyone was astounded. Was it possible that this other person was the key to finding Hua Yuan? Elder Sun glanced at Wang Donga and said, The other missing person is Wang Hua. Wang Donga felt as if a lightning bolt struck down on her when she heard that name. Her eyes turned black. Then she stumbled forward, and would have fallen if Jiang Nanan hadn't been supporting her. Hua Yuan had gone missing, and he had actually gone missing at the same time as Wang Hua. They. Wang Donga didn't dare to follow that train of thought. Shu Sanchi's eyes widened as he muttered softly under his breath. Was I right? Maybe they really eloped. Bei kicked him and whispered, Shut your filthy mouth. Hua Yuan isn't an unaccountable person. I think something is wrong. Elder Sun stared at Wang Donga's face, which had lost all color. Bei is right. I think something is wrong. Have you guys considered the possibility that Wang Hua has kidnapped him? Elder Sun's words were like a lifeline to Wang Donga, and she immediately recovered as she stared at Elder Sun with widened eyes. Elder Sun said ponderously, I found it a little strange ever since she joined the academy because she simply looked too much like Donga. In fact, they look almost identical, and their names are equally similar. Donga is also positive that they are not related by blood, while Wang Hua's martial soul is of ultimate strength, something that I have never seen before. All these factors raised my suspicions. However, she has relied on her own abilities to join the inner courtyard, so we can't reject her. Furthermore, her abilities are quite formidable. My suspicions were greatly allayed ever since your hunting expedition into the Great Stardo Forest. However, something must be wrong, since she vanished along with Hua Yuan at the same time. Even though outsiders are unaware of how important Hua Yuan is to Shrek, he has participated in the tournament before, and his twin martial souls are no secret to anyone. It's not impossible that one of our rivals has sent Wang Hua to us with Hua Yuan as the target. Don't panic, everyone. I have already gathered all the academy's teachers, and we will head out to search for him. I hope that Hua Yuan is safe. You guys can start moving and head elsewhere to look for him. I'm going right now. Wang Donga couldn't wait any longer as she turned around and disappeared in a flash. Everyone bid their farewells to Elder Sun and departed one after another, until only Bei remained. Why aren't you going? Elder Sun turned towards Bei. Bei frowned and said, Elder Sun, do you really believe that Wang Hua has kidnapped him? I don't think that's right. Shrek wouldn't be the #1 academy on the continent if someone could kidnap him from the Sea Gods Pavilion. Nobody knows how Senior Sister Shadow left all those years ago, but we were under attack from powerful enemies back then, and our academy was emptied out as a result. However, you were here with the other elders inside the Sea Gods Pavilion to hold down the fort. How could you guys let Wang Hua, who's just a sole emperor, kidnap him? Elder Sun tilted his head and said, You're still cool-headed. The others' minds were a mess. You're right. It's unlikely that Wang Hua has kidnapped him. However, you saw how dejected Donga was just now, and I had to find a way to stabilize her before anything else could be done. We don't know why Hua Yuan has decided to leave, and we don't even know if he left together with Wang Hua, but we can't have any internal problems. I did feel him leave after I got up in the morning. He left by himself, but it felt as if he was in a hurry. I didn't think much about it back then, but it seems he must have run into something. Think carefully. Has anything important happened to Hua Yuan recently? Nobody would ever think, not even in their wildest dreams, that Hua Yuan's emergency originated from the pouch that Wang Donga had given him. Inside Clear Sky Castle. Hey! Nui Tian was tasting a fragrant wine in his cup when his eyes suddenly froze. What's wrong? Jie Tian glanced at him curiously. Nui Tian frowned and said, That's strange. How has the seal been opened so quickly? That's really strange. Jie Tian was also surprised as he said, Are you referring to that pouch that you gave her? It's probably Hua Yuan if it's been opened. Nui Tian nodded, but he shook his head immediately afterwards and said, It's not strange that Donga has given the pouch to him. Could you not tell when they returned the last time? Donga's heart is locked onto that fellow. What I find strange is, how does Yuan have the ability to open that spiritual seal? Does that mean he sought someone else's help to open it? Jie Tian drank a mouthful of wine and said, If it's open, then so be it. He will have to face our final test whether or not he found someone else to help him open it. In the end, the assessment doesn't just test his abilities. More importantly, it tests his love for Donga. Nui Tian said, I'm not worried that he found someone to help open the seal, nor am I worried that he's found someone to help him find the yearning heartbreaking grass. What I'm worried about is that he may have opened the seal by accident, and if that's the case, that place is simply too dangerous for him with his current cultivation. I'm afraid something might happen to him. Jie Tian was a little confused. I don't think so. That fellow is quite intelligent. Can he not retreat and run away if he realizes something is amiss? Besides, can your spiritual seal really be opened by accident? I think we should be more concerned about this fellow showing the letter's contents to Donga. Nui Tian heaved a faint sigh and said, Forget it. We weren't the ones who came up with this test. Anyway, since the test has already begun, we will submit to fate. Fate. Jie Tian gazed at the distant sky through the window, and an understanding smile appeared on his face. Nui Tian was momentarily stunned as he watched his brother's expression. Then he seemed to understand as well, and he smiled faintly as he stared at the clear blue skies outside. Yes. Fate. Hua Yuan and Wang Hua flew for 5 hours, and the Heavenly Soul Empire's Heaven City was finally peeking out over the horizon. Hey, let's take a break. Wang Hua exclaimed softly. All right. Hua Yuan nodded and glided downwards. They had been traveling for full speed for 5 hours, and he was so exhausted that all his strength seemed to have left his body. Soul power could be replenished with a milk bottle, but he had to rely on soul power and his own body to defend against the air resistance from high-speed flight. His body was sore from 5 hours of flight, and he felt as if his entire skeleton was falling apart. He wouldn't be able to take it anymore if he didn't rest. They found a small patch of open ground and landed. Hua Yuan's expression was as calm as water. He withdrew the flying-type soul tool behind his back, crossed his legs, sat down on the ground, and immediately began to meditate. Hey, aren't you going to eat? Wang Hua could clearly see that there was something wrong with Hua Yuan's current behavior. The frustration and worry that seemed to come from his bones had made him a little irrational. I'm not too hungry. You go ahead. Hua Yuan's storage-type soul tool always carried some food and water. This was one of the ultimate soldier plan's main requirements. He handed some food and water to Wang Hua before he immediately continued to meditate. Wang Hua didn't push further, and she took the food and water and began to eat. She quietly stared at the cross-legged youth sitting before her as she ate. Am I going to venture with him into another world of soul beasts? It's only me and him this time. What does he want, exactly? The setting sun forest? How can that compare to the Great Stardo Forest? forest. The quality of soul beasts in that area is far inferior to the even great Stardo Forest's hybrid region. Perhaps we won't find a single 100,000-year soul beast over there. Wang Qiu silently criticized Huo Yuao in her mind as she watched him. This guy has such average looks. Wang Donggo is so pretty, so why is she so interested in him? But he doesn't look so good today. He's frowning even when he's meditating. Wang Qiu had really thought that Huo Yuao told her everything he did because he wanted to avoid her when she first stopped him at the academy. However, she was starting to understand that Huo Yuao had probably actually run into something urgent. She had never seen him so worried and anxious, not even when they faced off against the three evil brothers in the great Stardo Forest. Which friend of his was injured that made him so distraught? Could it be Wang Donggo? But Wang Donggo looked fine. Every girl was born with a tendency to probe into others' secrets and be nosy, and Wang Qiu was no exception. She stared at Huo Yuao, who was still meditating, and thoughts ran wild in her head. It didn't take long before she consumed all the rations in her hands. This tastes terrible. Wang Qiu finished her food, but she couldn't help but mutter and criticize it under her breath. She thought to herself that this was a far cry from what he had made before. He makes really delicious food, though. Perhaps that's why Wang Donggo likes him so much. Huo Yuao meditated for 2 hours. He recovered some energy, and his heart was a little calmer than before. He knew that he wasn't in the right state of mind, and he kept telling himself to calm down after he finished meditating. The greater the danger he had to face, the calmer he had to be. Emotional disturbances would only make things worse and harder to deal with in the long run. That was one of the ultimate soldier plan's defining principles, and Huo Yuao bore it in mind. He wouldn't have lost so much self-control if it hadn't been Wang Donggo who was in mortal peril, because he was just too concerned about her safety. Wang Donggo was simply too important to him, and it wasn't an easy task for him to ease his nerves in the face of this threat. Don't worry, Donggo. Even if I have to face all the dangers in the world, I will help you get that herb and I will bring it back. Huo Yuao wasn't hasty to get back on his way, and he fetched some food and water before he began to eat by himself. He wanted to be in his best condition to search for that herb. Wang Qiu watched Huo Yuao quietly consume his food, and she couldn't help but frown. This guy looks quite interesting when he's deep in thought. Hey, don't you have anything to say to me? I'm here to help you. Wang Qiu spoke up, displeased. Huo Yuao heaved a sigh and said, Qiu, I will first apologize about what happened yesterday. Even though it was an accident, I will not deny away my responsibility. It was my fault. I didn't correctly judge how strong your attack was, which eventually led to. It was just my fault. However, what I have to do now is exceedingly important to me, more important than my life. Therefore, I will be extremely grateful if you truly want to help me and I will owe you a favor. If you just want to watch the show, or if you want to cause trouble for me, then I beg you. You can do anything you want to me and I'll take it, but only after I've completed this task. Thank you. He stood up as he spoke, and bowed courteously toward Wang Qiu at the end. You. Wang Qiu's eyebrows knitted. She felt a little awkward. This guy was the one who took advantage of me. Why do I suddenly feel like I am the one who is letting him down? We'll settle this when we get back. Wang Qiu wanted to put on a strong front even though she felt differently inside. Huo Yuao stared at her seriously and said, then you're willing to help me? Yes. Wang Qiu nodded and said, I'm already here. Am I supposed to just watch? The setting sun forest shouldn't have many powerful soul beasts, and we shouldn't run into any danger if we team up. The key question is, what exactly are you looking for? Looking for something inside a forest isn't easy. Do you have a target? Huo Yuao's spirits were lifted when Wang Qiu said she was willing to help him. He couldn't be bothered by his awkward relationship with her at a time like this. When Wang Dong's life hung in the balance, all he wanted to do was acquire that herb no matter what price he had to pay. Wang Qiu's abilities were formidable, and they shared a martial soul fusion skill, the Dragon Roar of Destiny. Their martial soul fusion had even fended off that triple martial soul fusion. Ultimately, this expedition was a lot more likely to succeed with her around. I have a map, and this map has the rough location of what I need to find. We just have to search around for a bit when we get there, and that should be enough. Qiu, let's not hurry into the setting sun forest. I still have the 3 left leg bones that we picked up from last time. Why don't we absorb 1 piece each, so that we can further boost our strength? He retrieved 2 wolf ape left leg bones from his storage type soul tool as he spoke. All right. Wang Qiu didn't object. One of these things belonged to her anyway, and she took one before she sat down with her legs crossed. Huo Yuao said, I'll protect you. You can go first. Okay. Wang Qiu made sure she was sitting properly cross-legged. She waved her right hand, and a golden streak of soul power enveloped the left leg bone. The left leg bone was entirely purplish black in color, and it flickered with pale silver light. A deep dragon roar could be heard as the soul power on Wang Qiu's body trembled, and a golden layer of light encompassed and permeated the entire bone immediately afterwards. Ding. A faint chiming sound could be heard, and the left leg bone transformed into a flowing purplish black beam of light that drifted toward Wang Qiu. It followed her golden soul power, and she directed it into her left leg before it disappeared. Purplish black light circled twice around Wang Qiu's left leg before it vanished, and her body began to shine with golden light once again. Huo Yuao was standing guard for her, but even he could feel an immense pressure coming from her. What a powerful martial soul. Even though the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion was also an ultimate martial soul, Huo Yuao could clearly feel that the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion was still a little inferior to the Golden Dragon in terms of strength. Wang Qiu's Golden Dragon martial soul was probably at a higher level than the Dragon God Douluo's Radiant Holy Dragon and the Dragon Emperor Douluo's Darkness Holy Dragon, which meant that it was probably the purest inheritance of dragon-type martial souls. Who knew how powerful she would be if she could become a titled Douluo one day? Huo Yuao took out the map and began to study it. The map wasn't complicated, and there were clear instructions about where he had to enter the setting sun forest from. His destination was quite close to the forest center, and there were several other important places that were marked out in detail. He had to find a book that recorded the various herbs and venomous plants before he could search for the yearning heartbroken grass. Wang Qiu's formidable body was on full display throughout the absorption process. For 15 minutes. She actually only took 15 minutes to complete the absorption process. Huo Yuao's mouth hung slack with astonishment when she leapt off the ground and onto her feet. That's incredibly fast. She's absorbing a soul bone, and it's a soul bone produced by a 10,000-year soul beast. How can this process be so easy for her? It's your turn. Wang Qiu gestured at Huo Yuao. All right. Huo Yuao didn't ask any more questions. He sat down with his legs crossed and began his own fusion. Huo Yuao had absorbed 3 soul bones before this. He had fused with the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's torso, which included all the chest and rib bones, and was possibly his strongest soul bone. He had the Ice Jade Scorpion left arm bone, which contained the mighty ice explosion, and he also had the Dark Golden Terraclaw Bear's right arm bone, which carried the Dark Golden Terraclaw's formidable power. All 3 soul bones were rare and exotic. At this moment, Huo Yuao was starting to fuse with his 4th soul bone. This soul bone didn't exceed Huo Yuao's current cultivation. Furthermore, his body was far stronger than it was all those years ago, but his fusion process wasn't as quick as Wang Qiu's. He finished absorbing it after 1 hour. Huo Yuao felt as if his body was a lot lighter than before when he jumped up from the ground, and his left leg felt exceptionally strong. He bounced on his feet, and he realized that his jumping strength had been greatly boosted. Have you tried its soul skill? Huo Yuao asked Wang Qiu. Wang Qiu shook her head and said, let's try it together. They infused soul power into their respective wolf ape left leg bones at almost the same time. Silver light immediately flickered on their legs, and their bodies vanished into thin air in the next moment before they reappeared at their original locations. Both Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu had a look of a pleasant surprise in their eyes. It was just as Huo Yuao had hoped. The soul skill that they had obtained was instant shift. A soul skill like instant shift was like a life-saving trump card for any soul master, even though the soul skills carried by soul bones could only be used for a fixed number of instances. This was already good enough to give them both a delighted surprise. Both Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu would have never obtained this soul skill from their martial soul fusion skills, as instant shift was known as a top-tier agility type soul skill, and neither of them were agility type soul masters. Of all the soul masters that Huo Yuao knew, only Jiang Nan possessed this ability. Huo Yuao immediately attempted it once more. Silver light flickered beneath his feet, and he reappeared 10 meters away. The maximum distance is 10 meters. It's a little shorter than those wolf apes. Huo Yuao had chosen a distance that was further away, but the instant shift had ended at 10 meters. It was clear that this was its Clear that this was its maximum range. Wang Qiu appeared beside him in a flash. That's good enough, so you should be content. 10 meters may seem like a very short distance, but it's usually enough to turn the tables of a battlefield. Hey, why do I feel something peculiar when I'm next to you? Hua Yuao also realized that his left leg began to warm up when Wang Qiu came next to him, as if Wang Qiu's left leg had become a magnet and was pulling on his own left leg. They were both veteran soul masters, and they channeled their soul power subconsciously at the same time. Something strange happened next. Two silver streaks of light burst out from their left legs, and then intertwined together as they enveloped their bodies. They both disappeared at the same time for an instant, and their bodies instantly switched positions in the next moment. Hua Yuao stared at Wang Qiu with an astonished look on his face. Wang Qiu said decisively, let's try again further away. She raced out as she spoke, and ran about 100 meters away as she gestured toward Hua Yuao. Hua Yuao released his soul power and activated his left leg bone as he attempted to establish a connection with Wang Qiu on the other side. However, he realized that he couldn't feel anything at all, and nothing changed. Wang Qiu came 10 meters closer, and Hua Yuao continued to try. Nothing was different from before. Wang Qiu wasn't hasty either, and she slowly shifted forward bit by bit. Finally, when she was about 50 meters away from him, silver light exploded from their bodies at the same time, and Wang Qiu immediately appeared before Hua Yuao. This wasn't the instant shift carried by their left leg bones anymore, as instant shift only had a range of 10 meters. This magnet-like force between them increased its range by 500%, and this was achieved with just Hua Yuao pulling Wang Qiu at his side. This effect was similar to Shu Sanqi's mysterious netherworld displacement after his shield of Vigilante turtle evolved into the Swanwu shield, except Shu Sanqi's mysterious netherworld displacement could target opponents weaker than he was. Hua Yuao could only use this with Wang Qiu. They exchanged a look, and they thought about the countless possibilities. They already had a martial soul fusion skill, and this special effect carried by their left leg bones was a cherry on the cake for them, in addition to their new instant shift ability. Both of them felt as if they had struck a jackpot. Wang Qiu said, this ability probably originates from the three Wolf Fates triple martial soul fusion skill, even though that triple martial soul fusion cannot be passed down through their soul bones. This ability is still quite impressive. I don't want the last soul bone, but you can't give it to the wrong person. This is very important for the both of us. Hua Yuao didn't conceal his intentions. If you don't mind, I want to give it to Donga. Wang Qiu shot him a glare and grunted as she said, whatever, I don't want it. Just make sure she doesn't cause me any trouble. A sorrowful look flashed across Hua Yuao's face. Cause you any trouble? Donga has to live for that to happen. Let's go. We're going to the setting sun forest. It was nearly noon at this point. The sun was high in the sky, and it radiated scorching warmth. Let's go, then. Wang Qiu agreed. Hua Yuao heaved a sigh of relief when she began to cooperate, and they activated their flying type soul tools before they soared into the sky once more. Hua Yuao wasn't acting hastily anymore, and he flew together with Wang Qiu as they followed the map's markings and traveled towards the setting sun forest. They hadn't flown for long, however, before Hua Yuao suddenly felt something and gazed into the horizon, while he slowed down at the same time. What's wrong? Wang Qiu asked confusedly. Someone's coming here. Hua Yuao answered. Wang Qiu followed his gaze. Indeed, there was a group of people flying towards them in the distance from where Heaven Do City was located. They were in a fan-like formation, and their formation gradually changed in the sky and formed a semicircle that wrapped toward the two of them. Enemies? Wang Qiu asked confusedly. Hua Yuao shook his head and said, perhaps not. They should be from the Heavenly Soul Empire. This is my fault for being so careless. We're very close to Heaven Do City, and we are just flying through the air without attempting to conceal our movements. I think we have attracted the sentry's attention. Wang Qiu's mouth twitched, and she said, we're just flying in the sky. What does that have to do with them? Hua Yuao was a little speechless. Ever since we've had flying type soul tools, every nation's laws and control has become a lot stricter than before, and this is especially so for the airspace above or around cities. Heaven Do City is the Heavenly Soul Empire's capital city. Think about it. If someone flew over the royal palace and tossed down a powerful stationary soul cannon shell, what would happen? Wang Qiu said, is that actually preventable? If we fly high enough, to a height where they can't see us anymore before we toss a bomb, they can't do anything about it. This was the first time a smile had appeared on Hua Yuao's face ever since they left Shrek Academy. This proves how little you know about soul tools. It's not as easy as you make it seem. Let's not talk about how difficult it is to be precise when we're too high in the sky. With current soul tool technology, flying type soul tools have a limit to how high they can fly. Rarely can one fly higher than 1 kilometer above the ground at this point. Any telescopic soul tool on the ground that's watching the skies will be able to discover someone flying around. And night vision telescopic soul tools can monitor the airspace at night. The group had surrounded them while they talked. There were 10 soul engineers, and everyone wore standardized flying type soul tools. They weren't flying very fast, so it wouldn't be impossible if Hua Yuao and Wang Qiu wanted to shake them off. He wanted to get to the setting sun forest as fast as possible, but he also didn't want to bring unnecessary trouble upon himself. If they were suspected to be spying upon Heaven Do City, and thus attracted the attention of powerful individuals in the Heavenly Soul Empire, then there would be real trouble for him. The Heavenly Soul Empire's national strength couldn't compare to the Dalu Empire, but they were still a nation with a long history and solid foundations. The soul engineers didn't attack as they came up. They just surrounded the two of them. Hua Yuao didn't unleash any offensive soul tools, and he raised both hands to show that he meant no ill. These soul engineers from the Heavenly Soul Empire were all wearing leather armor, which was clearly intended to lessen the weight they had to carry. The person leading the group was a girl with a cold look on her face, appearing both elegant and noble. The flying type soul tool behind her released pale blue light. Who are you? How dare you fly around inside our capital city's airspace? You're looking down on my country. Follow me. Her cold voice felt extremely charming and nice to hear, but the contents were a little unpleasant. Hua Yuao was slightly taken aback as he stared at the young girl before him confusedly. You. Are you Mu Shui? The ice-cold young girl was also momentarily stunned. She stared at Hua Yuao with the same doubtful look and asked, how do you know my name? Hua Yuao heaved a sigh of relief once she confirmed his speculation. Have you forgotten? Mu Shui. We've met before inside the Great Stardo Forest. Back then, Uncle Mo was the one leading the group, and you guys were inside the Great Stardo Forest to hunt soul beasts. My name is Hua Yuao. Mu Shui scrutinized Hua Yuao for a moment longer. A look of revelation came over her face as she said, oh, yes, I remember now. You're that student from the Dalu National Academy, Hua Yuao, am I right? Yes. That's me. Hua Yuao hurriedly nodded his head. Back then, he, Wang Donga and Xiao Xiao, had entered the Great Stardo Forest under Elder Sun's protection when they met Mo Fei Yun and his company. This girl, Mu Shui, had also been part of the company, along with another pretty girl named Wei Na. The two of them had left a fairly strong impression in Hua Yuao's mind. Mu Shui's face suddenly turned cold. That's enough. Stop trying to worm your way through into being friends with me. Follow me. Hua Yuao was shocked. Follow you? For what? Mu Shui's voice was ice cold. You have trespassed into my capital city's airspace. You know that, so why do you still ask me that question? Even though we've met before, today's situation is very different, and our private relationship cannot interfere with my duty. Let's go. She came up with the other soul engineers as she spoke. She turned towards Wang Qiu as they moved up. It wasn't just her. All the other soul engineers were also focused on Wang Qiu. This wasn't because they had realized how powerful Wang Qiu was. It was because Wang Qiu was simply too beautiful. Wang Qiu looked more like the goddess of light than Wang Donga did. There wasn't any cover in the sky at this moment, and sunlight shone upon her body and made her flowing blue hair shine with pale golden light. Her enchanting beauty was nearly suffocating. Mu Shui had always been confident about her looks, and this was especially so because her martial soul's unique quality was different from normal people. However, she felt a little inferior before Wang Qiu. She paled in comparison in terms of looks and aura, and even in terms of her figure. Hua Yuao frowned as he lowered his voice and said, I'm sorry, Mu Shui. I'm in a hurry, and today's matter is just a misunderstanding. I have somewhere I need to be, and I accidentally trespassed in the Heaven Do City's airspace. I am sincerely sorry that this happened, but time is of the essence. I can't delay any longer. Mu Shui also lowered her voice. You don't get to make that decision. Are you resisting arrest? You have to know that we have the authority to shoot you down since you've trespassed over our airspace. I'll bring you back to the city because we have been acquainted, and we'll investigate to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the two of you, and then we'll let you go. Don't worry, we'll be just and follow official procedures. Hua Yuao was a little exasperated as he shook his head. I'm sorry, I really don't have the time. Mu Shui's face turned black as she shouted angrily, take them down. The 9 other soul engineers immediately began to move upon hearing her orders, and each of them took out a soul tool from behind their backs. These soul tools were about half a meter long, and there was a thick cannon barrel at the front with an opening that was roughly 30 centimeters in diameter. 9 cannon barrels were trained on Huo, Yuao, and Wang Qura at the same time. As a class 6 soul engineer, Huo Yuao couldn't be more familiar with this soul tool. These were soul paralysis rays, and they were enhanced versions. Even 5-ringed or 6-ringed soul masters would be immediately paralyzed and immobilized if these rays hit them. Of course, that meant these paralysis rays had to hit them first. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.